Last Looks crew. My name is Catherine Fouts. I'm a makeup artist who was selected as one of the Last Looks Podcast 2024 mentees. I'm guest hosting today on the Last Looks Podcast, a show where we catch up with hair and makeup artists working in the film industry around the world. Today, on this bonus episode, I'm catching up with my lovely mentor, Eryn Krueger Mekash, and fellow mentee, Emily Thiede, to talk to you about all things mentorship. Thank you so much to Eryn for graciously taking on 2 mentees, and a very special thank you to Jamie Lee for facilitating the mentorship program. This is such a wonderful and unique opportunity. If you want to find out more about the Last Looks mentoring program, go to lastlooks.com. And if you love the podcast as much as I do and want to show some support, you can buy the podcast a coffee. Link is in the show notes of this episode.
Hey Last Looks crew, I want to quickly jump on and say thank you to Catherine, Emily, and Eryn for doing this bonus episode. It is a fabulous insight into the Last Looks mentoring program, and they all share such brilliant advice. So thank you ladies for taking the time to sit down together and record this incredible chat. Also wanted to let everyone know that our Last Looks mentoring program for 2025 applications will open 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, February 23rd, 2025. So keep an eye out on our Instagram page for that. I will post instructions on how to apply, and info is always up on the website last-looks.com. I have said it before and I will say it again. If you're applying, please follow the instructions. It's a good first step. Follow the instructions. Once again, we have an excellent lineup of mentors for you, and they are all past guests of the podcast. Okay, I'll shut up now and let Catherine take over. Enjoy the show.
And now, our feature presentation.
Pictures up.
Last Looks. Rolling.
And action.
Welcome to the Last Looks Podcast, Eryn and Emily.
Hi, Catherine. How are you?
Hi. Hello. Good. How are you guys doing today?
Hi, Emily. Good.
Good.
I'm good. I'm excited.
Me too. This is such a great opportunity. So I was going to start by having you guys introduce yourselves. I know that Erin's been on several episodes of the podcast and has done it before, but Emily, if you'd like to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. That was the one thing I didn't take notes on. Who am I? I'm a makeup artist. I operate out of Tampa, Florida, Central Florida kind of area. I've been doing makeup effects for 6 years now professionally. Graduated makeup school in 2019. And now I'm just kind of finding my spot in the industry, enjoying the process.
And Eryn?
Hi. Yes, I've been on this on Jamie Lee's podcast several times, and it's such a good opportunity to get information out to a lot of people. And I like to listen to it myself, just because it's there's always something interesting to learn. And I think that this is a great opportunity to have a niche little part of her mentee program kind of resolved. Maybe we've learned a little bit more about what it takes to be a mentee and how to be accepted into the program and all of that. So I'm very excited to be here today and to be part of this. And it was a great idea. Great idea, Catherine.
Thank you. Well, I'm Catherine. I've been doing makeup for about 15 years, but I've only been in the industry for about 6. I'm a mom and I'm in Atlanta, and that's really it. I did want to do this bonus episode as kind of a way to give back to the Last Looks community. I definitely wanted some of the people who weren't selected to still benefit from some of the information that we gained from participating. I also wanted to take this moment to highly encourage people who maybe didn't apply or applied and weren't selected to kind of take a step back, gather themselves, and definitely put their name out there for the next go round.
I agree. It's really important to continue to follow through. I mean, there's been plenty of times that over my career that maybe you don't get selected the first time, and you continue to persevere and keep at it, and you eventually get what you want. So you have to keep trying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Emily, this was your second time applying, right?
It was. So I did apply last year. I was not selected, and you can feel free to go back and look at it. Haven't looked at it since, but I did in my caption. I was not deleting it. You putting yourself out there and getting rejected is a part of the process. However it happens, it does give you a little bit more character building. So I'm glad I applied again. I know I've heard, especially from a couple of my friends in the industry, that they were a little discouraged. And it's every time You're the anonymous dozen. What are you going to stand out? What do you have to say? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I guess we kind of already answered it, but I did want to kind of dive into how and why we all became involved in the Last Looks mentorship program. Emily, like you said, you had applied the year before and applied again. But Eryn, what about you? How did you get involved?
I think initially I had been involved with as far as menteeship, mentorship. I had been involved with Debbie Zollers during COVID, and I had a really great experience with my mentee, Blaine Welty. She's amazing. And I found that not only is it kind of a full circle thing where with Blaine that I chose her and we continued to have a really good relationship and able to, refer her to different things and refer other people to her because she's had a different experience. And then when I went into having, when Jamie Lee came up with the Last Looks mentorship, I thought, well, it's a good opportunity to continue that. And I feel like it's really important to have a mentorship and just an ongoing thing. And it's not something that just is like, oh, well, you get these 4-hour sessions, and it's a relationship that you continue to build and you continue to pass on to different people. And I think that's really important. I have mentors throughout my career that I still contact and talk to all the time, whether they became good friends of mine or whether, there's some specific thing that they had experienced in the 70s that I wasn't part of, that they could give me an insight to if it's a show that I'm doing research for, whatever. It's just, it's an ongoing relationship. So I just think it's really important to have that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know for me, I had been listening to the podcast for a little bit over a year. I had gotten really excited when I heard Sarah Henskell's episode because I've been working with her for the last 4 years. And then when I saw that you were participating, I was like, I just will throw my name in the hat. We'll see what happens. And I felt like at the time, even though I've worked on a couple of bigger productions, I really was looking for some guidance in my career. So it was perfect timing and perfect opportunity. Eryn, can you tell us a little bit about your selection, like what you look for in a mentee, that kind of thing?
I definitely look for somebody that is interested in being a diverse makeup artist, somebody that is interested in doing beauty, design, makeup effects, has, a little bit of a background in makeup effects and, knows what they're talking about in the language of shop with where it's, maybe a little bit of mold making, a little bit of sculpting, how that all works. Because I feel like as a makeup artist, you need to have that background and you need to be able to discuss that with, if there's a shop that's going to be hired on the show and you need to discuss that with somebody. So I'm looking for a makeup artist that has that. I'm looking for somebody that, even if it's scary, somebody that's able to ask questions and have an idea of what information they want to bring out of a mentor. Because a lot of times mentors don't know what you want to learn or what you're missing from your career. You could be a very established makeup artist and still need somebody that can kind of guide you in different aspects. So it's somebody that has questions, somebody that doesn't feel uncomfortable with contacting somebody and asking, putting themselves out there. They have to have a little bit of ambition in that sense. You're not gonna get your questions answered just sitting at home hoping for them to be answered. So I look for somebody that is, both of you I'd already talked to you, Catherine, because we're working together on a show. And I'd already talked to you a little bit. And Emily, I'd already had a lot of conversations with before she even applied to the mentorship. So she'd already been asking me questions. So it was for me, it was kind of natural to pick Emily because I already knew that she was driven and that she was already asking me technical questions and she was already having a conversation with me, in general, reaching out to me. So it felt to me like it was somebody that with Emily, it was somebody that I was comfortable working with. And I already knew that she was the right person to be involved with me in this. And I wasn't going to have to what do you want to learn? She was like, this is what I need to know, So I think that's,
I was like, that's going to make me cry.
But that has a lot to do with it. I know that Mike has participated in mentorships before and it was really hard on him because it was somebody that was number one, like not asking questions, and number two, not taking his advice at all and showing, that kind of side and learning from him. So I think that that has a lot to do with it too.
Absolutely. And as
I
far
would like
as
to interject, I didn't want to derail the thought, but also, so Catherine was not in your department, but was in kind of a close proximity to you. She still had to have the courage to come up and say, hi, I'm Catherine. This is where I am. I met you at Monster Palooza. Like, I'm sure both of us were shaking in our boots being like, oh my God, this is my one chance to say something. I can't mess it up. And it's like, okay, so you don't say something. You never say something. No one knows you. And then that's where it ends. Versus I embarrassed myself. I could always come back from that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I totally agree with you. It wasn't because Catherine's not directly in my department. So I only met her and she put herself out there and said, I'm the PA for the hair department, but if you need anything, I'm available to run errands for you. And then it kind of turned into, I really want to do makeup effects very quickly.
A lot of courage.
This is my background, is that I really want to continue to learn more and do more makeup effects, because she was already doing it, but she wanted to learn more. So, and then I said, oh, great. So we just started, even before the mentorship, we just kind of started like, I'll come in and watch me do whatever prosthetic application or that kind of thing.
Yeah. And just a bit of advice maybe for people that are listening. So I knew that you guys were coming to work on the show, and I knew eventually somebody would probably introduce us, but I decided to take it upon myself to pop in the trailer because I knew that I was going to North Costco, which is a huge makeup supply store in Atlanta. And one thing that I've found helpful for me in the industry is to always kind of anticipate needs. So I figured, maybe you would need something from North Costco. It turned out you had a bag there that was being held that I was able to pick up for you. So just for anybody listening, if you do have an opportunity, always try to anticipate needs, make yourself a little bit useful, and just put yourself out there, because I could have waited for a couple more weeks to meet you, even though we're working in the trailer next door. So,
but also you were helpful in the way that you didn't expect anything in return. You just wanted to be helpful.
Yes.
Just wanted to be in the room with the people that you love so much.
And I love a good trip to North Costco.
I was going to say, and just the excuse, spend someone else's money so that you can enjoy the store. Yeah.
Oh, I love what they send me with all the cards. I'll have 3 production cards and just living vicariously through production. Emily, I wanted to kind of focus in on your experience. I know that you're out of state. So you and Eryn kind of had to structure things a little bit differently. So can you give us a little bit of insight into your experience?
So when I applied, I don't want to take away from also the expectations versus reality, but when I applied, it was so open. I was like, whatever this is, I'm thankful for the time. Because I feel like a lot of the things that happen, it's like Eryn's a real person, Jamie's a real person, you're a real person, I'm a real person. And you are asking something of someone. And this doesn't happen usually in our industry, to open up a formal apply, get selected, become a mentee. Usually it's someone you met in this way and you had a phone call with this person. So I was really trying to see all the opportunities available to me. And then I know Eryn's super busy. So I know you're super busy. How can I fit into your schedule? I'm not entitled to your time. I would just love whatever we can have. We've had some really great phone calls doing laundry with the cats interrupting everywhere. And it's like, I can rant off for 2 hours about questions and I get answers, and that's perfect for me.
Yeah. And then we also had the opportunity to all grab lunch in Atlanta last weekend, which was amazing as well.
That was so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was really fun. It was really good.
It's great. As far as me, as far as expectations go, I've kind of learned not to be a person with expectations. I feel like it can either lead to disappointment. I just like to be pleasantly surprised. I would say I didn't enter into it with expectations, just gratitude and being eager. Obviously, I'm in a little bit of a unique position, but I just feel like I've been so blessed to be able to mostly have our sessions be in person. But yeah, as far as expectations versus reality, not that I expected anything, but it's definitely been an amazing experience.
Oh yeah, definitely met and exceeded. Yes.
Oh, good. I'm glad, because sometimes when you're dealing with, right now I'm working, and I think that when you have a bunch of different schedules going on with 2 different units, say, and you've got different one-liners going on and all that stuff, we haven't even touched on any of that through our mentorship, but it's definitely hard to remember to reach out and do all that stuff when your brain is going 1,000 miles an hour. But I know with Catherine, she'll say, do you have time this week? Do you have time? Do you have like any downtime this week and we could talk for an hour? And I'm like, oh, yes, definitely. So it is about like, that's a big part of it, is somebody that has the drive to ask the question. Because I know that sometimes when I was younger, I didn't want to bother people. So I wouldn't like ask questions. And then I look back and think, oh, I missed out on an opportunity. So now as I've gotten older, and I am older now, obviously, but I mean, as I got older, like in my 30s, I would always ask questions when I was in my 30s. When I was in my 20s, I was very like nervous about bothering someone.
On the opposite end of that coin, sorry to interrupt, on the opposite end of that coin, instead of, I don't view it as bothering people, but sometimes there's a fine line you have to walk, right? Like on a day where I can look at you and I can tell that you're going a mile a minute. There's a time and a place. So there are times, obviously, where I'm like, oh, is there downtime? And there's other times where I'm like, we haven't even had the chance to say hello today. Today is not the day. So it's another thing, like as a mentee and somebody learning to like read the room as well.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's a big part of it. But that's all about developing. You're always learning. I'm always learning. I learn a lot. I've learned a lot on this job. I'm not a big fan of, I'm not that interested in technology. I can do it, but I'm just not interested in it. But I've learned a lot with that. There's always room for learning, and it's important to keep your mind open. I mean, even with Emily asking me some questions about a makeup that I did on the brother's son, was an age makeup I did. She really liked the way it was, that it had like a lot of sheen to it. And she wondered if it was makeup so I reached out to Will Thornton, who runs all of the silicone for Vincent van Dyke effects. And I said, do you think this is just my application? Like Vincent and I applied this makeup. And he said, well, it's several things. It's this and this and your application. So, I mean, it's like, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't think of it that way. So, by Emily asking me that, and I learned something. I reached out and asked the question instead of being like, well, I don't know, maybe it's just small powder I was using or whatever. So I reached out too. So and then Will told me about it. So it's just really, it's broadening everyone's, mind and making all your brain cells work.
Yeah. Which is crazy that yeah, absolutely. It's crazy that happened too, because I had just talked to Catherine privately and we were talking about all the different ways that it's like, there's nothing as sexy as someone who says, I don't know, but I can find out. Yeah, I can make that happen for you. Someone who says, I know everything and has an answer for everything, that's not always necessarily the case. And to have you ask, even on my behalf, I was like, oh my God, I have the answer. I'm like staring at my silicone makeup and all of it. It's not even floated off yet. And I'm like, so there's so many different things, so many different questions I have. It exists in everyday life. Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
It's important. And you go, oh, that's a big part of like every single step of makeup effects. Again, learning about all those things. And you don't have to be an expert at every single step, but just knowing, like having a grasp of what you're talking about is what helps make your makeups better or make your design better, or when maybe the next time I go to do another age makeup on a woman that's supposed to be pretty, that I can say, do you remember when we did this? I really liked the way that we did that thing. I liked where the edges were and all of that. It's just all about, building upon your expertise and your learning capabilities and all of that. So, yeah. So I'm learning from you guys too.
I love that. Speaking of that, Emily, what would you say are some of your main takeaways from your mentorship experience?
It's so broad because I feel like we've talked about everything. Our first meeting was like, I want to know everything about your life, your inspirations, who's your mentor, why do you do this? And then to narrow it down. So I think the main things I've taken away and the things that I think about almost daily are self-preservation. In what way can you do this? Can you do this well, still enjoy it, and then have this long-standing career? Because I thought my question when I first came into it was going to be longevity. How do I build a career that's going to satiate me until I'm older? But it's more of how are you going to take care of yourself to be able to do it? I also feel like we've kind of been able to kind of hone in on our idea of success and what you have to be seeking into it. Because I feel like I talk about this stuff all the time. I'm bleeding it out of my pores. And then I'm like, oh my God, this is something that I want to do. Even if I'm doing this tiny thing, even if it's low paid, unpaid, I'm where I need to be right now. And I'm enjoying what I'm doing. So that's all that matters. I don't need to compare myself to anyone else.
Yeah, that's actually one of my major takeaways as well. So being where you need to be, because I mentioned to Eryn, just kind of, we've talked about imposter syndrome and like feelings of maybe unworthiness. And one of the things that she told me was that I basically wouldn't have been presented with the opportunity if it wasn't where I was meant to be. And that meant a lot to me because I know that that's something we all deal with as creatives, especially imposter syndrome. Eryn and I have talked about that a lot. And that was one of the other caveats of something that surprised me during my mentor experience was to hear that Eryn still, had dealt with imposter syndrome, even though like to me, she's like the best of the best, one of the heavy hitters. So another thing, and I'm sure that people listening can tell, is we all have some form of neurodivergence and ADHD. And I've always viewed that kind of as a deficit, but I'm learning to lean into it as more of like a superpower. You kind of have to have something going on up here to be in the industry, especially dealing with all the things we've been dealing with, especially with like schedule changes and switching from days to nights, totally unexpected curveballs. So,
and yeah, that especially that, because we all have some form of ADHD, that everything's different. We're in chaos mode all the time. I'm always like, I'm going to work the best when I have to work overnight, and I'm up all night trying to make this work, and I'm going a mile a minute. It is the change in this industry that you do have to welcome and embrace.
Yeah. And then sometimes you crash out all weekend long and, don't put a bra on for like 3 days and don't want to talk to anybody just because of that level of burnout. It's just interesting to explore other people's ADHD experiences.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
True. That's very true. I think a lot of people, this industry definitely attracts people that are interested in that are hyperfixators, because you can do the job like for 3, 4, 5 months, like this one thing, and it's just like you're onto that, and then you're onto another project, and then you're onto that thing, and your brain's working just on that. So I think it attracts a lot of people in that sense. Anyways, a lot of artistic people have that need, and that they're driven towards that. So they don't really like to do the same thing every day over and over again for years. They like to have a new input and a completely different type of, stimulus all the time. Mm-hmm. So, but on the other end of it, it can be harder for us to focus in on all the things. And it makes you really tired. It can make you very tired because your brain's working overtime to stay on track with things that you need to do. So we, like with me, I have not only myself and my husband, who were both really late diagnosed since only 3 years ago of ADHD, but people in my department have it as well. So we all kind of make one great, amazing, mushy brain together. We all bring our amazing, super strong brain all together, big brain. It's the big brain. Really good at this thing, and one's really good at this thing. And so you have to be able to lean into other people. So I think that, learning to embrace that as an artist, and to be able to know that you can't do all of it yourself, and to be able to ask for help, and to be able to take care of yourself. And I'm not a big person of it's my self-care weekend and everything. But it is. You have to do that. You have to be able to sit down, and whether it's watching a TV show or it's looking at your phone or taking a walk with, your friends and stuff, just getting outside and getting different kind of stimulus is really important for cultivating your creativity. It's a reset. I think I kind of went too hard when I was younger, and realized that I needed to take time in between jobs to just kind of reset a little bit. So it's really important, I think, to learn that as a younger person in the business. As much as we want to be whoa, as my dad says, going Mach 5 with your hair on fire. That's what he always says that I'm doing.
Oh, but I love that feeling.
I love it. It's very rewarding, but sometimes you can get oh my God, I feel so overwhelmed.
Yeah, it's really hard to sustain that.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say it sets expectations for yourself too, because you're well, now I'm not working and I suck at this and I'm never going to work again. You're so many people are sitting right now, guys. So many people in this industry are sitting.
Yeah, you definitely can't tie your self-worth. Definitely can't tie your self-worth to your career, especially right now while things are so unknown. That is also another one of my major takeaways that I wanted to touch on was I think something that I really have seen and learned from Eryn is that there's definitely room in the industry for compassion, kindness, empathy, and definitely not gatekeeping. So that's refreshing. I've been in the industry for about 6 years. I started out in the locations department, which is heavily male dominated. And I feel like I've seen a shift in the industry. And I think it has a lot to do with people like you, Eryn, who are stepping into these roles and, kind of changing things.
Well, I mean, there was, when I got in the film business, there wasn't quite as many women. There wasn't as many women, obviously, doing makeup or makeup effects. There were a few people like Margaret Becerra Prentice and B. Neal that were totally killing it. And we didn't really have a real amazing way to find other people at that point. It was mostly men. And we've come such a long way, many more women in the film business. And I think that over the years, we've started to become more empathetic with the needs of people and being more careful with knowing that people's personal lives it's very important for especially I think for women in general, because they wear so many hats in their personal lives, to know that you need to stretch out and think outside of just being like, we've got to get this job done. It's really important to think of people as humans, and our business is getting better at that. I think probably the last 5 years, my bosses have been much more involved with, safety and making sure that that we're doing well and asking if we were feeling better and do you feel stressed? Or are you having a good day? It seems to be coming around a lot more, I find. And that being said, it's still a film business, and we're still working long hours and all of that. But I just think that it's definitely come a long way. And it takes a lot to think that way. I know that there's a lot of people that don't treat, their teams well in that sense. So I just find it's a better way to treat people. And it's sometimes it's hard and you have to really try. But I'm not perfect at it, but I'm trying, and I'm trying to help people in that way.
Absolutely. Well, I think that really the last thing that I really wanted to touch on was just maybe some advice for those people that are listening about, seeking mentorship, things like that. Emily, did you have any advice for people?
My advice is the worst thing that can happen is someone says no. Like, no one's going to say, no, you're terrible, horrible. I can't believe you sent me this DM. There's so many DMs that I've sent that have been left unread. And then I'm sure they're so busy. There's so much stuff that's going on. You look at this and you're like, oh, I'm going to get back to that. But even having ADHD, I think, gives us a little bit more compassion in that regard. Because I'm like, I'm doing 100 things. And I know that there's family members that are texting me right now I'm not responding to, that I might open just to kind of get context for the situation. So ask everybody, and the right people will find you, I think.
Yeah, that's great. I think for me personally, my advice would be that if you're not where you want to be right now, I promise you're still learning valuable skills. Like I think I've told you multiple times, Eryn, that I've learned more waiting tables than I did at film school. You just you never know what you're learning and what you're benefiting from. Different personality types that you're dealing with at different jobs, I think all benefit you. Also, another thing is it's not the end of the world to be a 30-year-old PA. I thought it was going to be. Now I'm 30 and I feel like I'm really entering into myself, finding myself. And again, it's not the end of the world. And for a while I was cleaning 4-banger bathrooms and it helped get me where I am right now. So you just never know what's going to get you where, but just keep going, especially in these trying times.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'd love to interject on that because you say this, I've never thought that of you. And I'm someone who has only met you a couple weeks ago. We talked online a little bit. I see someone who is I know you guys are working crazy hours right now and you still find the time to work on yourself, to have a relationship with your daughter and the things that are important. Because this is, at the end of the day, this is our job, and we could be accountants. We could be just doing something that we hate, but we still have life to live outside of it. So that's when you get so honed in. That's when you find things like envy, jealousy, and those kind of not so great feelings about it, when you can rather be kind of more well-versed. And I think you are where you're supposed to be, because I think it has opened you up into what's happening right now. You have so much set experience now and so many kind of occasional things that you would never experience outside of that.
Yeah. Thank you, Emily. Yeah, it's definitely been interesting. Eryn, do you have advice?
I think that, a lot of it too is it's okay to, back up and go a different direction if you find that you're not happy with what you're doing too. Like if, I was just completely 100% sold on the idea when I was younger that I was going to be in makeup effects and I was going to, maybe have a shop someday and all of this, these amazing ideas. And like 4 or 5 years into it, I was like, I'm not this person. I'm not somebody that's a good sculptor, like a fast, good sculptor that you have to be. You have to be a fast, amazing painter, which I am not. I'm a slow painter. It's like I'm a slow sculptor, and that doesn't work in the film business. And I was also not getting on set, so you have to kind of reassess, decide how you're going to get somewhere. And I also wanted to get my insurance hours. So I'm like, I have to focus all of my energies in this other way to get in the union, which took me like 3 or 4 years. Mm-hmm. So it's okay to reassess, reevaluate which way you're going. And I think that being told no so many times, I'm 56 and that was when I was in my 20s, but being told no so many times, I was told yes also, but being told no really helped me to be like, okay, well, when I need to refocus how I'm going to do this, I was told no or not accepted at things many times before I was accepted at something. And those experiences made me not only appreciate when I was accepted, but also the learning part of being told no over and over again, reassessing, figuring out how to get told yes was invaluable.
Absolutely.
It was invaluable. So I just think that it's that it's really important. It's just I hear about people saying like, I'm so disappointed I didn't get chosen. I know it's really disappointing, but it doesn't mean you should stop.
When I think you should bring up is the academy story you told us at lunch. Because you had a tidbit where you had said, this is how many rejections I got. And then I had to look at it. Is what I'm going to get worth more for my journey? Or is it going to be something that's going to be really upsetting and I'm going to carry that heaviness? Right. And that's when you kind of decide. Yeah.
Yes. I had been approached by 2 sponsors for, this is years ago. I was like in 2010, 2009. And they wanted to put me up for a membership for the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science, right? For the Academy membership. And I said, oh, that would be really cool, and I hadn't thought of applying. I had no way to apply, but these 2 members wanted to put me forth. And I thought that was just such an incredible honor. And they put me in and I was not accepted. And I was, I hadn't put myself up. So I was very like, oh, well, okay. It was really sad to me. So I didn't, but I was like, it wasn't my time. So I'm just going to move on. And so, that was 2009, 2010. That was 14 years ago. And then I was approached again with 2 other members that wanted to put me up. They put me up. And again, I was rejected. And I was just like, that's just the way it goes. But they also said they were keeping an eye on me, which was very, very cool. But I was just kind of like, okay. But I was also rejected again. And so I think there was like maybe another time that 2 other members wanted to put me up. I think might have been 3 times that I was put up that I was not accepted. And I just kind of thought, oh my God, this is getting really like horrifying at this point. Like that people keep putting me up for this position and I keep getting rejected. And so like that, I think at the 3rd time I thought, I'm just not I don't know if I want to keep like going, hey, isn't seeming desperate that the people keep putting me up and I'm not being accepted. And then I got nominated for an Oscar. And it's not always a given that you are accepted, even if you're nominated or if you win an Oscar. It's not even a given that you're part of the membership. And I was accepted as a member. So that was like, I think it was the 4th time that I was put up as a member. And I'm very honored to be part of the Academy. It's really I take it very seriously. I am at every meeting and I've been on the executive board for 2 years now. And that's the board that makes all the decisions on who is going to be part of the nominations, who's going to be on the nomination on the ticket. So I feel very honored. I don't know if maybe when I was younger, I wouldn't have had the time, or maybe I wouldn't have been as dedicated as I am now. But I think there's a time and a place for everything that you are putting yourself out there for. So sometimes you need more experience in order to be successful at what you're asking to be part of. So it's not just younger people. It's people that have been doing makeup for a really long time too, that aren't necessarily being accepted. So on certain things that they're asking for. So I'm incredibly grateful to be part of the Academy, but it was like my fourth time being asked, and I was a little bit like, should I be putting myself out there again? To maybe be turned down again. But in the long run, it's an honor. So keep putting yourself out there. It's part of life, and it's an amazing thing when it happens for you.
Just to piggyback off of that on a smaller scale, the show that we're working on now, I had actually gotten a call during season 4 and interviewed for an office PA position, and I didn't quite fit the qualifications because I'd been working in the locations department, and I, was kind of disappointed I didn't get the job, but they were like, oh, we'll keep your resume on file, whatever. And a couple of weeks later, they called me back, and that's how I ended up getting the hair PA position, which was much more suited to where I wanted to be. So you just never know. A lot of the no's for me have ended up benefiting me in the long run. So
that's right. Sometimes no's turn into yeses.
Absolutely. Well, does anybody else have any more advice or anything? I know we were going to kind of try to wrap this one up. We've almost reached our hour.
I know, exactly. I just feel like
I can't think of anything. Go ahead.
No, you go. You go.
I was going to say, outside of having gratitude for Eryn for donating so much of your time to us and being so receptive to being flexible. We all have different schedules, but we have been able to make it work. And Jamie for lending us her platform, because this is amazing. And I know me and Catherine in the background, we're like, oh my God, we're going to be on, and we have to figure out what we're going to say. And it's like, it's fine. Just be yourself. And I'm so thankful to Jamie.
Yes, absolutely. I'm very thankful to Jamie too. I don't know how everybody does all of the juggling that they do with their lives. Everyone has such a big life, and to be able to have, Jamie's runs her podcast, and she department heads big jobs and is still open to this mentorship and everything. It's just, it's a huge thing, and it's incredibly beneficial to everyone at all interesting levels in all different parts of levels of their careers, of beginning, intermediate, people that are like myself that are, 10 years out of retirement. It's great. And you're learning so much and having such a good time doing it. And then I also appreciate both of you for coming up with this great idea. I think it's really important for people that, that are getting not necessarily accepted into this program, to keep trying, because you have to be open-minded and be able to, maybe change up and improve on your work as well. And that might be part of it, is that you need to try and, do a little bit more work on yourself and be a little bit more of a standout person for someone to accept you into this program. So it's not just for experienced people, and it's not just for beginners. It's for people that need to, that are putting themselves out there and putting their best work forward and all of that. It's people that have a good head on their shoulders and a good ego. So
there's
all of that.
A big thing too, all the free stuff that you can be doing to better yourself at home. As one of the director of my makeup school was like, well, you could be sitting watching TV and still sculpting. That's what you want to do. It's there. It's free. You can rip it apart like Joel Harlow does and use the dirty bits into the next thing. And Kat, coming up with the podcast, she sent us this beautiful outline, did so much work on it. And it's like, that was something that she did to better herself and better her community. Nothing out of pocket. There are so many things you can do to better yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's a huge part. Even simple things like going to, makeup shows, going to Monsterpalooza, Comic-Cons, and things in your local area. There's so many things that are available in your local area to go find and learn about, or books online, and YouTube, and there's so many things available now.
Absolutely. Well, I think we've covered most of what we planned to. One more shout out to Jamie Lee and you guys for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. Yay!
Human, kind, be both. Humankind Glow is a growing community redefining beauty, where the true measure of beauty is the love and kindness we share with ourselves and others, with the mission to redefine beauty by inspiring confidence and kindness, disrupting unrealistic beauty standards. Their exceptional products aren't just about looking great, they're a catalyst for positive change. Created by New Zealand-born, Hawaiian-based makeup artist Natalie Bruce, Humankind Glow offers a variety of beauty products and has more in development arriving to the website soon. Stock your professional and personal kits today with a beauty brand you can feel good about, with a portion of profits going towards impactful causes, embodying their commitment to kindness in both beauty and business. Your purchase helps redefine the standard, proving that together we can make a significant difference. Join Humankind Glow in creating a world where true beauty is a beacon of peace and kindness. To receive your Last Looks Crew 10% discount, go to humankindglow.com/lastlooks or hit the link in the show notes of this episode. Individually, we are one drop. Together, we are an ocean.
Okay, Last Looks crew, thanks for listening. And remember, if you love it, share it. A quick scroll down and you'll find our show notes. Or maybe you'd like to give your support and leave a 5-star review. Go on, I know you want to. Search the Last Looks podcast on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, whichever one tickles your fancy. And cheers to Liliana Rose for her fabulous voice acting talents. Okay, Last Looks crew, that's a wrap for me. I don't need to be told twice to get out of here, so bye. I'll catch you on the flip side.